Part 46. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 451. There are fruits that look like babies hanging on the tree. They are pink and tender and very cute. These are baby fruits. Unfortunately, baby fruits only mature once every 30 years, and there are still several years before the next batch matures. She withdrew her gaze and looked at her mutilated legs under the water, hatred burning in her chest again. Lanur. The master's gentle voice came. Zhao Fulan looked at her with red eyes. Master. Rong Xianer came to the edge of the pool and knelt down, holding her head in his arms. Don't be afraid. Master is here. Master will definitely help you get revenge. Well, Master, I knew you were the best to me. Zhao Fulan hugged her waist and crawled into her arms. However, there was no emotion matching the voice in those eyes. Rong Xianer stroked her hair gently. Lanur, I have investigated that Shen Yizi. She is very powerful, and she is protected by King Chen. If she wants to take revenge, she must start with the people around her. Hearing the word Chen Wang, Zhao Fulan's eyelashes trembled, followed by overwhelming jealousy. She will never forget the scene when he stood beside Shen Yizi to protect her and raised his hand to attack her. Rong Xianer stopped after he clicked and took out Han Beiluo's piece of information. You should take a look at this first. After the injury is healed, it won't be too late to talk about revenge. Asterisk. Kunling Island. Shen Yizi was taking Gu Switting around the island, introducing him to some interesting places he had discovered. Qingbao and the other three were led by Shen Jiangan, and they enjoyed a rare moment of being together. While having fun, Shen Yizi suddenly received a message from Kui Yu. Clicking on the shadow stone, Kui Yu's anxious face appeared on it, looking like he was about to cry. Sisters Hizi, I received a letter from my father. He said that my grandfather was seriously ill and was about to die. I want to take Nian Nian back as soon as possible. Shen Yizi quickly replied to her, don't worry, I'll take Nian Nian there right away. The two returned to the valley and explained the situation to Shen Jiangan. Shen Yizi, Dad, I'm not worried. Nian Nian will go back with you and the others. I want to go with them. Then go and leave some more food for me. Shen Jiangan continued to immerse himself in carving stones. I'm not sure how long this trip will last. You have to take care of yourself, Shen Yizi warned uneasily. Shen Jianghan's eyes widened. Do I need you to worry? Go quickly, don't let the little girl wait for a long time. Then he said to Gu Switting, Seeing Zhou, take care of Hao Bao. Well, I will, don't worry. Gu Switting put her arms around Shen Yizi's shoulders. I'll leave Qingbao and Yuan Bao to accompany you. What Shen Yizi is most worried about is that they all left at once and the island suddenly became deserted and lonely, and his father would not be able to bear it. To be honest, Shen Jiangan was very excited about this proposal, but it was better for the child to stay with his parents. It will probably take at least 2 or 3 months for Yu Bao to make this trip. When the time comes, Qingbao and the others will miss their parents, and he won't be able to coax them. Take them all away, take them away. These little devil stars are causing me a headache all day long. If you take them away, I can still be peaceful, Shen Jiangan said innocently. Shen Yizi sees through things without telling them. Well, this Kankan bag is full of food and wine, but you can't be greedy and have to exercise restraint, you know. Okay, let's go quickly, Rory, you're so embarrassed. Shen Jiangan waved his hand impatiently. However, when they really left, looking at the suddenly deserted Shitting, he couldn't help but sigh with regret. The stone sculpture in my hand suddenly felt boring. At this moment, a small head popped out from behind the stone pillar. Grandpa, my mother, father, and I have applied to stay with you, Yuan Bao said crisply. Shen Jianghan's eyes suddenly felt warm and he waved to him, good boy, come to Grandpa. Actually, he already knew Yuan Bao's identity, but the child's every move was completely unrelated to the puppet, as if he really was Qingbao's twin brother. Gradually, he began to treat him like Qingbao. Now, Yuan Bao actually asked to stay with him, and Shen Jiangan was really moved. Hold him on his lap and sit on him. Can Grandpa carve a small stone figure for Yuan Bao? Good. In mid-air, Shen Yizi looked at the scene of his ancestors and grandson having fun in the stone pavilion below. He looked at each other and smiled at Gu Switting, feeling relieved. On the Tianzhou, Nian was not as lively as before, but sat quietly on the carpet. Qingbao was running back and forth heartlessly, holding a small kite in his hand and trying to fly it into the sky. Gu old father Xueting followed him step by step, lest he bump into each other and fall. Shen Yizi sat down next to Nian and took out a piece of information about the Kui family. This was what Gu Switting sent to her before. She put it away after reading it. Now that Nian is going back to the Kui family to face the big family, she must get acquainted with those people. She pointed to the intelligence information and told her about the relationship between the Kui family's characters as if telling a story. The previous head of the Kui family has now been adopted by the family. He usually lives in seclusion and rarely shows up. This current head of the Kui family, Kui Huo, the lord of the Southern Territory, who is also Nianyan's father, is now 67 years old. If placed in an ordinary family, this is also an age to take care of life, but Kui Huo is not an ordinary person, but a monk. The cultivation level is probably in the later stage of qi refining. It is not a problem for monks in the qi refining stage to live for 100 years, so Kui Huo, who is 67 years old, is at most middle-aged among the monks. I had never heard of anything wrong with him before, so why did he fall ill all of a sudden? It seems like it's time to take care of funeral arrangements. Shen Yizi always felt that there was something fishy here. I asked Kui Yu and she didn't know. It seems that the only way to find out is to meet him in person. Kui Huo's wife, the Zhao family, comes from the Zhao family of the current queen's mother's family. She was the woman who imprisoned Nian and her mother in the coffin. On the surface, Zhao gave birth to 2 sons and 2 daughters to Kui Huo, but in fact, the eldest son Kui Shizhen was born to Kui Huo's true love Li Jianyang. Zhao's eldest daughter Kui Mingguang married into the Lu family, a large family in the same city. The second son Kui Mao likes to travel around the mountains and rivers, looking for secluded places and sightseeing spots. He lives away from home all year round. Now he is more than 30 years old and has not yet started a family. The youngest daughter, Kui Yunhuang, was diagnosed with the ice spirit root when she was very young. She joined the immortal sect when she was about 10 years old and rarely returned home. As for the grandchildren, there are only 2, Kui Yu and Kui Yu. Compared to other aristocratic families, the Kui family can be said to have withered away. As for the relatives of other collateral branches, there are quite a few, but there is no need to remember those people carefully, just have a general understanding. Shen Yizi told Nian once, and Tianzhou had already arrived outside Yufu City. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 452. Kui Yu and Kui Ying had already been waiting outside the city according to Shen Yizi's instructions. When they arrived, Shen Yizi directly picked them up on the sky boat and headed towards Dan City in Fenjiao Prefecture. On the boat, Shen Yizi took Kui Yu into his arms and said, "Don't worry, your grandfather is not an ordinary person after all, and he won't get there so easily. The sky boat is very fast, and we can reach Dan City in a few days." Kui Yu nodded, feeling a little less panicked. Although her grandfather did not like to see her father, he was always very kind to her. When she heard that her grandfather was probably dying, she felt as if the sky was falling. Shen Yizi saw the dark circles under her eyes and knew that she must not have slept well after receiving the letter, so he asked her to go to the room to take a nap first. With her around, Kui Yu felt particularly at ease, so she went obediently. When she entered the room, Shen Yizi asked Kui Ying, "Did your father tell your grandfather about Nian Nian?" If this is the case, it would not be surprising for Kui Huo to become seriously ill in bed due to high blood pressure and cerebral thrombosis due to his excitement. Kui Ye looked solemn. "My father was about to tell my grandfather, but before he could, my grandfather had a sudden attack and passed out. He still hasn't woken up after 3 or 4 days. The doctors in the city were helpless and they vaguely asked my father to prepare for the funeral." The meaning of Shen Yizi asked, "Sudden emergency? What special thing happened before the onset of the disease?" Kui Ying shook his head, "I don't know either. Yes, he learned about it from the letter sent by his father, so naturally he couldn't know too much. The specific situation will not be known until Kui Mansion in Dangheng." At night, Shen Yizi took out the spirit stone and embedded it in Tianzhou's array, set the forward route for Tianzhou, and turned on the automatic flight mode. While sleeping, Kui Yu wanted to be closer to Nian Nian and hugged her and refused to let go, so Nian Nian went to sleep in the same room with her. Kui Ying sleeps next door. Shen Yizi, Gu Switing, and Qing Bao's family sleep in one room. The room was just a cover. Once inside, Shen Yizi took Gu Switing's hand and brought him and Qing Bao, who was held in his arms, into the space. As soon as they entered, Gu Switing and Qing Bao were shocked. This is the first time the two of them have entered after the first level of space was unlocked. The entire space has undergone great changes. Shen Yizi released the sun-quenching bowl from his dantian and threw it into the air. The sun-quenching bowl instantly became as big as a bed. "Come on, I'll take you around." The three of them stepped into the sun-quenching bowl. As soon as Shen Yizi thought about it, the sun-quenching bowl flew out with a swish. This was the first time for Qing Bao to sit on such a bowl-shaped flying magic weapon. He was a little scared at first, but seeing that his father and mother were by his side, he was no longer afraid. He ran from one end to the other, leaning on the edge of the bowl with his feet in hand. Look down. The sun-quenching bowl does not fly high, only 7 or 8 meters above the ground, so you can clearly see what's going on underneath. With the construction of more than a dozen puppets day and night, the large land of space has been spread out according to her vision at the time. At a glance, there are flourishing flowers and trees, and herds of livestock, creating a pleasant pastoral scene. Gu Switing was shocked when he saw it. His chaos space is not small in area, as large as a city. However, it can only store dead objects and cannot be as full of thriving vitality as the scene in front of him. The reason is that his chaotic space is just a storage device, rather than a small world with derived rules. When Gu Switing was enlightened, his chaotic space was undergoing subtle changes. "Bird," Qing Bao stretched out his finger. "That is a spiritual crystal beast that flies in the air to eat when it is full and has nothing to do. Although it looks like a chicken, its tail feathers are much longer and more colorful than those of ordinary chickens. Its wings are spread out very smoothly and slenderly. The way it is flying leisurely in the air is so beautiful that it dazzles people's eyes." Shen Yizi controlled the sun-quenching bowl to fly over. The spirit crystal beast also flew over, folded its wings and landed on the edge of the bowl, staring at Qing Bao. "Is this your cub?" Shen Yizi nodded. Qing Bao wanted to reach the feathers of the spirit crystal beast, but he couldn't reach it because he was too short. Shen Yizi looked at his clumsy and cute look and laughed unscrupulously. Gu Switing was helpless and amused, and stepped forward to pick up Qing Bao and let him sit on his arms. In this way, Qing Bao is instantly higher than the rim of the bowl, and you can reach out and touch the spirit crystal beast. But the spirit crystal beast refused to let him touch it and flew to the other side nimbly. It didn't fly away, it just stood there so ostentatiously, its gorgeous feathers always tempting Qing Bao. When Qing Bao realized that he could not catch the beautiful bird, he cast a look at Shen Yizi for help. Shen Yizi felt so soft when he saw him that he walked over and bent down in front of him. "Qing Bao, give me a kiss, and I will help you catch the bird for you to play with, okay? Qingbao immediately held her face and kissed her. The kiss made Shen Yizi smile. The spiritual crystal beast realized something was wrong and wanted to fly away, but unfortunately it was already too late. When he was stuffed into Qingbao's arms, he looked up at the sky with despair. After spinning around in the space, Shen Yizi finally responded to Qingbao's request and placed him on the grassland. This boy is tired of playing with the spiritual crystal beasts and has become interested in the horses on the grassland. He is planning to go horseback riding. Shen Yizi patted Guswitting on the shoulder and said, "The important task of teaching your son to ride a horse will be left to you." She took out 2 deck chairs and placed a table between the chairs. She lay down on one of the deck chairs and enjoyed the food leisurely. From time to time, he glanced at Guswitting and Qingbao. "I wonder if Master Yang's Dinjian pill has been refined?" Call up the trial manual, turn to the page of the grocery store, and click into the backend. On the chat interface with Yang Shengqing, there is a package displayed for collection. There are several more messages. Yang Shengqing, the Dinjian pill is ready. The medicinal materials for the longevity pill are here. Crystal exquisite bag. Let me know if you're here. The message shows that it was sent 1 day ago. Doesn't this mean that he finished the medicine not long after she gave it to him? This is too fast. Thinking about him being a 9th level alchemist, it's not surprising at all. Just like her now, it only takes an hour or 2 to refine a furnace of Bigo pill. I think Dinjian pill is to Yang Shengqing just like Bigo pill is to her. Sorry, I was unable to see the news in time due to something else. Shen Yizi immediately sent over a large package of delicious food. In addition to 10 pounds of sesame seeds, there was also a steamed large crab and a roasted earth mole. Just then she opened the package, and a jade bottle appeared in front of her out of thin air. There lies a pale pink elixir, the size of a lotus seed, like a plump and round pink pearl, with a delicate fragrance and a natural aura. Excellent condition. But she was not sure whether it was Dinjian pill or not. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 453. Shen Yizi spent 200 spirit stones to buy an appraisal ball. The appraisal results showed that it was a top-quality beauty pill that could keep a woman's appearance unchanged for 200 years after taking it. Shen Yizi's breathing couldn't help but stagnate. She is also a woman, and there is probably no woman who does not want her beauty to last forever. Shen Yizi looked at the Dinjian pill in his hand, and his heart became hot. But she did not take it immediately. There was a ding sound from the chat interface, indicating that her package had been picked up by Yang Shengqing. After a while, he sent a message, "Thank you very much." "Haha, I am the one who deserves to be thanked. You only charge me some food as a reward for a pill like Dinjian Dan. I am taking a big advantage. If you want to eat anything in the future, just tell me." There was no reply from the other person, so he was probably eating too much. She couldn't help but feel a little happy when she thought that the legendary 9th level Grand Master was actually a big foodie. After sending the medicinal materials for refining the longevity pill to Yang Shengqing, Shen Yizi went to his shop and took a look around. The items on the shelves were sold out without any surprise, and the amount of spiritual stones in the wallet also increased a lot. The bottom of the page is full of requests for new messages. Shen Yizi fulfilled their wishes and put the dishes on the table one after another. At this rate of consumption, the inventory in her warehouse may not last long. Shen Yizi went to the kitchen and cooked many new portions. Afraid of missing Yang Shengqing's news, she never closed the grocery store page. When she put a cage of shrimp dumplings on a plate, she heard a ding sound, and the longevity elixir she sent was received by Yang Shengqing. Less than an hour later, the elixir was sent over. This is too fast. Shen Yizi received the package, opened it, and appraised it. The best life-extending pill. This great master is top-notch when he makes a move, leaving no way for other alchemists to survive. But it couldn't be better for her. The best life-extending pill, the medicinal effect has reached the extreme, it can extend your life by 10 years. After taking this top-quality life-extending pill, her father will have 10 more years of life. These 10 years should be enough for her to find the 9 nodes of the 9 dragons covering the sky formation and crack the formation, right? As soon as the formation is broken, Dad will be free. The Tianyuan world will gradually recover, and the aura will become richer. At that time, with my father's cultivation level, wouldn't the vastness of the world allow me to live freely? Thinking of the bright future, Shen Yizi was even more grateful to Yang Shengqing. Fortunately I met this great master. If it hadn't been for him, she didn't know when she would get a life-extending pill. With this gratitude, Shen Yizi frantically sent him a package. Each one is filled with delicious food. These are all what she made just now, and they are still warm. Over there, Yang Shengqing received a lot of food, and he was so happy that he almost soared. Enough, enough, too much. Shui Ling Ling Longbao, it's okay, I'm not short of delicious food. Just tell me what you want to eat in the future. Yang Shengqing, if you want to make any elixirs in the future, just come to me. Crystal exquisite bag, okay. She thought of the soul cleansing pill that could help Goosewitting get rid of the evil poison. The demonic poison has taken root in his soul. Once washed with the soul cleansing pill, his soul will return to its original purity. Just like a newborn baby, the demonic poison attached to the soul will naturally be washed away. But at the same time, his past memories will also be washed away. So, she would not take this approach unless absolutely necessary. This should only be used as a last resort. Now that the life extension pill is available, their ship has already flown a short distance away. If we turn around now, it will be delayed for 3 days even if we go back and forth, and there may be a lot of troubles for the Kui family. But Dad can't delay. It's better to get the longevity pill to him as soon as possible. Shen Yizi thought about it and decided to let Goosewitting make a trip. You ride Xiaoman and deliver this life-extending pill to my father, okay. Goosewitting would not refuse, but he took the opportunity to seek benefits for himself. The tip of his tongue swirled in her cochlea. Zhizi, the evil poison in my body has been suppressed. Tonight we. Daddy. A crisp milky sound came in. The originally charming atmosphere was instantly broken. Dad, why do you want to eat my mother's mouth, is it delicious? Qingbao ran over, put his hand on Goosewitting's knee, and looked at her mother's red lips curiously. Goosewitting approached Qingbao. Of course it is delicious, soft, and sweet. But only I can eat it, and no one else can. Shen Yizi slapped him on the arm and glared at him. What nonsense are you talking about? You don't have to teach Qingbao a bad lesson. Goosewitting looked at her, but smiled without saying a word. He looked a little bit like Xianting's mischievous spirit, but his eyes were clearly dark and deep, like a whirlpool trying to swallow her whole body. Shen Yizi's face felt hot at his sight. He turned around and pinched Qingbao's face. It's time to go to bed. Let's go. Qingbao held Goosewitting's finger and refused to let go. I want Daddy to sleep with me. Shen Yi's Hixiao glanced at Goosewitting. Did you hear that? Why don't you put your son to bed quickly? Goosewitting leaned over and pecked her face twice, and when he pecked her a third time, she pushed her away. After coaxing Qingbao to sleep, Shen Yizi took Goosewitting out of the space. When he came to the bow of the boat, Shen Yizi straightened his collar and handed him the longevity pill. Go early and come back early. Goosewitting hugged her tightly and said, okay. He summoned Xiaoman through the contract, and Xiaoman swooped down through the clouds and came to the Tianzhou. Goosewitting stepped on Xiaoman's back. Xiaoman flapped his wings and was several miles away in an instant. Shen Yizi stood at the bow of the boat, watching the figures of one person and one bird disappear into the night. As soon as she raised her head, the bright and pure night sky filled her sight. Asterisk. Dank Hung. Kui Mansion. Changning Yuan. The flowers and trees in the courtyard were covered with a veil of light yellow moonlight. A gust of night wind blew, and the shadows of the flowers rustled. An ordinary-looking bird flew over and landed on the window sill. Its beak tapped rhythmically on the window a few times. The window was opened by the maid, and she stretched out a hand toward the bird. The bird opened its mouth and spit out a wax pellet. The maid presented the wax pills to Ms. Zhao, who was sitting on the bedside. Zhao does not have the qualifications to practice, and is now in her 60s. Although she has taken good care of herself, her skin is still fair, but the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes and neck have clearly exposed the fact that her years have passed. At this time, a little girl was kneeling at her feet, massaging her feet. She raised her hand, "Go down." The maid and the little girl responded together and stepped back respectfully. Zhao then crushed the wax pill and unfolded the note inside. The letter was from her brother, the head of the Zhao family. After a few simple greetings, he got to the point and asked about Kui Huo's physical condition. At the end of the letter, I attached a sentence, "Can the Suzaku order be used for it?" Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 454. The Vermilion Bird Order is to the Lord of the Southern Territory what the Jade Seal is to the Emperor. It is a symbol of power. If you can get the Vermilion Bird Order, you can take the entire Southern Territory into your hands. Although the appointment of a territorial lord is decided by the Emperor, the selection is usually made among the descendants of the territorial lord. Logically speaking, the eldest son is the first in line of succession, but this is not absolute. Especially, when the eldest son is not liked by his parents. Ms. Zhao came to the table and handed the letter to the candle to burn it into ashes. Thinking of Kui Huo lying on the bed, a hint of sarcasm appeared on her lips. If Kui Huo dies, the person who inherits the position of territory lord will definitely not be the born by that bitch. Asterisk. Woke up in the morning and found that Gu Switting was no longer there. Qingbao was in a very low mood and even missed a bowl of rice. Shen Yizi wiped his mouth, "Daddy will be back soon. Then let him take you to fly around in the sky on a big bird, okay?" Thinking of his good appetite, he was eating meat porridge with big mouthfuls. Hearing this, he hurriedly said, "I want to sit down too." Shen Yizi smiled and touched her head, "Sit down. Nian Nian, eat slowly." However, she did not expect that her promise would come true. Tianzhou was moving very fast. Seeing Dan City approaching, Gu Switting had not yet caught up. Shen Yizi couldn't help but feel a little worried, so he used the shadow stone to contact him. "Where are you now?" "I thought I would receive a reply soon, but it turned out that I was already outside Dan City, and there was still no movement from the shadow stone." Did something happen to Gu Switting? Shen Yizi thought uncontrollably. She immediately denied this speculation. There was a bond between them. If something happened to him, she would not be able to sense it. Perhaps he was temporarily tripped up by something? Shen Yizi suppressed his worries, held a baby in one hand, and followed Kui Yu's brother and sister into the city. Dan City is worthy of being the capital of the southern region. The city wall is as high as 20 or 30 stories. Its majesty is indescribable. Just standing under the city wall can't help but give rise to a feeling of insignificance. There are 5 city gates, 1 main and 4 auxiliary. The main city gate can accommodate 8 horses and carriages at the same time. The auxiliary city gate is also 7 or 8 meters wide. The 5 city gates are all very busy, with a constant flow of people and carriages, but they are orderly and do not appear chaotic. Compared with the glorious and majestic imperial capital, the dance city in front of us has a majestic look. After entering the city, Shenyazi suggested, Ali, why don't you go back first, and I'll take Qingbao and Nian to find an inn to stay. After you understand the situation, I can take Nian to the house. Kui Huo, the territory lord, is in a coma. The Kui mansion must be even more heavily guarded and strangers are strictly prohibited from entering the house. They don't know much about the situation in the house, so it is not appropriate to come to the house rashly. Kui Ying, that's fine. Sisters Hizi, I'll take you there. Shenyazi took his 2 children to settle down in the inn, while Kui Yu and Kui Ying returned to their house. Big houses are not popular in this mansion, so the courtyard where they live is in the most remote west corner. The place is not big, it is just a small courtyard with 2 entrances. In the past, Kui Yu was much brainwashed by Zhao. She felt that her father was useless and her mother was cowardly. She also disliked this small courtyard for the second time and would not set foot in it if she could. But after going out, she already understood who was the real one. Treat your loved ones well. As soon as she entered the house, she couldn't wait to return home and see her parents. At first she walked, but then she started running. Slow down, Kui Ying looked from behind and couldn't help but shake his head and laugh, this girl. Oops. Kui Yu turned around a corridor, suddenly bumped into someone, and sat down on the ground. She gasped in pain, but when she raised her head, she was stunned by a slap in the face. You can't walk without eyes. Kui Yu covered her face, stood up suddenly, and said angrily, how dare you dash. When she saw the face of the person in front of her, the second half of her words was so shocked that she choked in her throat and her eyes almost popped out, why are you here? Kui Yunhuang looked at her, a little surprised, and glanced at her from head to toe, this is my home, why can't I be here? But you, who allowed you to enter my Kui home? Kui Yu screamed angrily. Before she could speak out in anger, Kui Yu stepped forward and stopped her behind her, Ali has met my little aunt. You and I haven't seen my little aunt for many years. So I didn't recognize it for a while, so I hope my little aunt won't be surprised. Combining what Kui Yunhuang said just now, as well as her appearance and age, Kui Ye had to come to the conclusion that the woman they had had a quarrel with in the square outside Penglai Pavilion was their little aunt whom they had not seen for many years. Kui Yu stared at Kui Yunhuang, she is actually their little aunt? What an injustice! Can I apply for it? Kui Yunhuang was also surprised, so you are the twins born to my unlucky eldest brother. The tone is despicable and makes people feel extremely uncomfortable. Kui Yu immediately exploded, it's not your turn to judge whether my father is good or not. Besides, my father is not at all dash. You were, Kui Ying shouted to stop her. Kui Yu realized that she had almost told the truth, and was frightened for a while, so she quickly shut her mouth. You and I just came back from outside, so we won't spend much time with my little aunt. Kui Yu pulled Kui Yu away. Kui Yunhuang looked at the backs of the 2 brothers and sister, thinking about the second half of Kui Yu's unfinished words. Her father was nothing at all. Kui Yu was being pulled by Kui Ying. Seeing that he didn't speak a word all the way, she couldn't help but feel uneasy, brother. Kui Ying stopped, turned around, looked at the distinct slap mark on her face, sighed, and touched it lightly, does it hurt? Of course it hurts. That woman showed no mercy at all. Noticing that his expression darkened again, she lowered her voice and muttered, what a bad luck, why did she become our little aunt? Kui Ling led her forward and said earnestly, since you already know the situation of our family in this mansion, you should be careful in your words and deeds. Especially now that my little aunt is back, if she holds a grudge it's hard for you to do anything wrong, and because of her status as an elder, it's hard for her parents to say anything. Okay, I've written it all down. In the small courtyard of the second entrance. Men play with birds, women plant flowers. Kuiyu led Kuiyu in and stepped in. What she saw was this harmonious scene. Dad, Mother, we are back. Kui Shichen and Hu Xiaoyun's movements stopped instantly, and they both looked over, full of surprises. Hu Xiaoyun stepped forward and hugged Kuiyu into her arms, patted her on the back a few times. You girl. Why are you so brave? How dare you sneak into the caravan and run so far away? Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 455. Kuiyu hugged Hu Xiaoyun and smelled the faint fragrance on her body. She felt particularly at ease and couldn't help but rub her arms. However, her behavior made Hu Xiaoyun a little stunned. Didn't you always dislike getting close to her? What happened this time? Thinking that she might have been wronged outside, she glared at Kui Ying. How could she take care of her sister? Kui Ling spread his hands innocently. When they separated, Hu Xiaoyun was angry and distressed when she saw the slap mark on Kuiyu's face. Who slapped this? How dare you hit my precious daughter? Who are you talking about? Dad is taking it out on you. Kui Shichen crossed his arms and the beard on his chin trembled in anger. He slapped Kui Ying hard again. What does your brother do for a living? Why did you suffer so much injustice? Kuiyu said hurriedly, it's none of my brother's business, it's not that little ant who appeared out of nowhere. I was in a hurry to come back to see you, but I accidentally bumped into her, and she slapped me on the spot. It hurt so much me. She covered her face and complained angrily. Actually, her face no longer hurts, but she has never been hit in the face by anyone in her entire life. It's so humiliating. Kui Shichen touched her head and said, don't worry, Dad will definitely vent his anger on you. Dad, what are you going to do? Kuiyu asked curiously. Kui Shichen was not going to tell her, let your mother give you medicine quickly and stop standing here. When the mother and son entered the house, he said to the white parrot on the porch, Zioki, after raising you for so long, it's time to put it to use. Your slap can't be in vain. He gently stroked the parrot's neck feathers, his eyes were heavy and angry, and he looked completely different from his usual carefree appearance. Parrot responded, Xiao Qi wants to vent his anger on you. Well, go ahead. The parrot fluttered its feathers, and the color of its body changed. It changed from a snow-white parrot to a gorgeous parrot, which was very different from before. Kui Shichen watched it fly out of the yard and stepped into the house. He heard Kuiyu ask, Mom, how is my grandfather? Is he still awake? Hu Xiaoyun sighed softly, no, it's been 10 days. The doctors have all come to see me, and I even invited the Immortal Master from the Immortal Medical School, but the Immortal Master said dash. Kuiyu's heart tightened, what did you say? Hu Xiaoyun lowered his voice and said, your grandfather was poisoned by a strange poison. Poisoned, Kuiyu's voice rose several times out of surprise, and Hu Xiaoyun quickly covered her mouth. If it is poisoning, then things will be complicated. Kui Ying asked, have you found out who poisoned it? Kui Shichen sat over and shook his head, feeling worried. He had a vague feeling that his father's poisoning was directed at him, or the entire big house. And the letter Ali sent back only deepened his speculation. Speaking of the letter, Kui Shichen grabbed Kui Ying and said, Ali, didn't you send me a message saying that you found your little aunt? Where is she? Changning Yuan. Kui Yunhuang chatted with Mrs. Zhao for a while, and then returned to her yard. On the plane tree in the courtyard, there stood a colorful parrot. As soon as it saw her, it kept calling beauty, beauty, beauty. Kui Yunhuang was amused, you are such a sweet bird. The parrot flew over, but Kui Yunhuang thought it wanted to get close to him and stretched out his arms to use as a support. Unexpectedly, as soon as the parrot came over, it greeted her face with its two paws. Kui Yunhuang was unprepared, and several bright red claw marks were immediately scratched on his face. Ah, my face. Ugly, ugly. The parrot that had successfully committed the crime flew up to the treetops and stabbed a knife into her heart. You flat-haired beast, I'm going to kill you. Kui Yunhuang was so angry that he lost his mind and shot the ice pick at the parrot crazily. Unfortunately, the parrot is very nimble, and all her attacks failed. Kui Yu and Kui Ying came back from visiting their grandfather and heard that Kui Yunhuang's face was scratched badly by a parrot. Kui Yu laughed on the spot, you deserve it. Kui Ling gave her a warning look, even if you think so in your heart, you can't show it. Kui Yu stuck out her tongue, okay, I will listen to you. Kui Ye looked at his father who was playing with the birds on the porch. Thinking of what he said earlier about venting his anger on Kui Yu frowned. Just as he was about to ask, Aunt Zhao who was beside Zhao came over. The old lady was very happy to know that the girl and the young master were back. She specially asked the small kitchen to prepare a lot of dishes that the girl likes to eat, so that she can catch the wind and wash away the dust for you. She also invited the eldest gentleman and the eldest lady to move to Changning Yuan together. Kui Ying subconsciously looked at Kui Shijhen, feeling like he was going to the Hungmen banquet. Kui Shijhen gave him a reassuring look and smiled back to Aunt Zhao, okay, we'll be there soon. In the inn. King Bao and Nian Nian lay on the window and looked towards the street, their eyes full of novelty and desire. The guest room owned by Shenya's hiding is on the third floor. The outer window faces the street. When you open the window, you can see the lively street scene outside. Mom, I want to go out and play. Qingbao came over, took Shenya's hand and shook it. Nian Nian even turned into a soul state and was about to float out. In the end, he bumped into a transparent barrier. Shenyazi had a smile on her lips. Fortunately, she was smart enough to set up a barrier around the house in advance. Why are you hanging out at noon? Eat first, then have a good sleep. When you wake up, I will take you out to play. After the two of them were coaxed to sleep, Shenyazi used the shadow stone to contact his father. Dad, have you received the longevity pill? I got it. I feel much better after taking it. Where did you get this longevity pill? On the photo stone, Shen Jianghan's complexion was indeed better than before. I met a great master of alchemy by chance. His name is Yang Shengqing, and he made the elixir. Yang Shengqing. Dad, do you know him? I don't know him, but I used to know a guy named Yang. The father and daughter chatted for a while, and Shenyazi finally asked, Dad, did Xueting leave after delivering the elixir to you? No, I even asked him to play a game of chess with me, and also asked him to catch a lot of fish from the sea for me. Shen Jianghan was in a good mood. Hang up the shadow stone, Shenyazi's heart sank. Gu Switing had left Kunling Island 3 days ago. So far, he has not replied to her message. Could it be that he is trapped somewhere? The time goes back to 3 days ago. After Gu Switing left Kunling Island, he chased in the direction of Shenyazi at lightning speed. On the way, he discovered that there was a fire in a village below, and the fire was soaring into the sky. He immediately ordered Xiaoman to come down and use the water dragon technique to put out the fire. The fire was out, and he scanned the houses with his consciousness. He didn't find anyone trapped in the house, so he wanted to leave. The villagers who were originally putting out the fire all knelt down to him, calling him Master Immortal and shouting, Master Immortal, help us, there are monsters trying to eat people. I hope Master Immortal will show mercy and save us. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 456. Monster. Could it be that there are monsters raging nearby? If that was the case, it would be hard for him to just throw away and leave. Goosewitting fell down and said, "You all get up. Who can tell me what happened to the monster?" In the crowd, an old man on crutches walked up to him, bowed his head and said, "Thank you so much, Master Immortal, otherwise our village would have been burned to the ground." Goosewitting hurriedly helped him up. "Old man, there is no need to be like this. I just happened to be passing by here and I really can't bear the trouble." The old man held his arm and said, "Master Immortal is such a good person. I am the village chief of Huaisha village. Regarding the monster matter, please ask Master Immortal to come to Lao Chen's home. I will explain it carefully to Immortal Master." "That's fine." Goosewitting glanced at the crowd and followed the old village chief to his home. The old village chief's home was not affected by the fire. After entering the house, the old village chief asked Goosewitting to sit on the kong and asked his wife to bring tea. However, what came in was a girl of 15 or 16 years old, wearing an aqua skirt that pinched the waist. She had an orchid hairpin in her oily black hair, and she also applied hair oil. A strong gardenia fragrance spread out. She put down the teapot and poured a cup of tea each for the old village chief and Goosewitting. A section of her white wrist was exposed in the movement. Master Sien, Lanner has retreated." Her tone was delicate and soft, and she glanced at Goosewitting shyly before leaving. Goosewitting's expression was always calm. He had grown up in the palace and had seen many tricks like this. This woman's methods were really not worth mentioning. "Master Immortal, drink tea, drink tea." This tea was picked by the grandson of the old man from the mountains. "It is so fragrant that I would not even drink it." Goosewitting picked up the teacup and took a sip. He was a little surprised when he noticed a faint spiritual energy. Good. After a while, N.A. Laner came in again, carrying a tray with 3 dishes of side dishes. "They are all crude things. I hope the Immortal Master won't dislike them," said the old village chief. Goosewitting said, "I'd better tell you about the monster, so that I can get rid of it as soon as possible and prevent the villagers from being frightened again." The old village chief took out his dry tobacco stick, took 2 puffs, and exhaled a thick puff of smoke. "This matter has to start 3 months ago. On a full moon night 3 months ago, a long-haired monster broke into the village and dragged away a woman who happened to get up to urinate. The villagers were alerted and chased after her, but failed to catch up. After searching for most of the night, there was no sign of the long-haired monster. The next day, the villagers found the woman under the big locust tree at the head of the village. The woman died miserably. She was hung naked from a tree. There were blood marks all over her body, and her lower body was even more ruined. After her husband buried the woman, he took the family into the mountains without saying a word, vowing to avenge his mother-in-law. But in the end, instead of being able to take revenge, he got himself involved. A few days later, his body was discovered by villagers who went up to the mountains to hunt. The next full moon night, the long-haired monster appeared again and kidnapped a woman again. The woman also died miserably. The old village chief sighed, every wrinkle on his face was engraved with sorrow. "That long-haired monster has already ruined 3 women in the village. If it continues like this, our Huaisha village may become extinct." At this moment, Lanner suddenly broke in and threw herself at Goosewitting's feet, trying to grab the hem of his clothes. As soon as Goosewitting flicked his sleeves, Lanner was swung away and fell to the ground. Feeling the coldness coming from his body, Lanner shuddered involuntarily and almost forgot what she wanted to say. She calmed down and looked up at him with tears streaming down her face. "Master Immortal, please help us. As long as you can get rid of that long-haired monster that was cut into pieces, Lanner is willing to do anything." Goosewitting ignored her and left a message to the old village chief, "Tomorrow night is the night of the full moon. If the long-haired monster comes again, I will get rid of it. I can rest assured." As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared. Lanner, who was lying on the ground, stood up and was about to open her mouth, but was stopped by the old village chief's look. She lowered her head and returned to her house. On the big locust tree at the entrance of the village, Goose Whitting's figure suddenly appeared. He took out the shadow stone and sent a message to Shenyazi, Zhizi, I will be delayed for a day, don't worry. He put the shadow stone into his arms, sat cross-legged on a branch, and began to practice. What he didn't know was that Shenyazi didn't receive any news from him at all. That night, the shadow stone in his arms was motionless. In the early morning, as the sun was rising, Goose Whitting absorbed the purest ray of spiritual energy in the world into his danshan, and then opened his eyes. The first time I took out the photo stone in my arms, I couldn't help but be disappointed. Zhizi has not replied to him yet. Perhaps she is still in space. The small world will block the transmission of the message of the shadow stone. However, one day passed and there was still no reply from the shadow stone. Goose Whitting couldn't help but become anxious. Did something happen to Zhizi? Fortunately, there was no difference in the Tongsheng deed, otherwise he wouldn't be able to wait for a moment. As soon as he got rid of the long-haired monster, he immediately caught up with him. This day is the 15th. When night comes, a bright moon rises into the sky. Goose Whitting has been staying in the locust tree and used a blind method to prevent others from discovering him. When the village chief thought he had left, he sent him a message, don't worry, old man, I will be with you tonight. A strange light flashed in the old village chief's cloudy eyes, and he continued to smoke his cigarette as if nothing had happened. Goose Whitting used his spiritual sense, and he could not hide the troubles in the entire village. As soon as the long-haired monster appeared, he would immediately notice it. As for the nightlife of the villagers, he deliberately blocked it. After all, he had no habit of prying into people's privacy. When the moon rose to its zenith, the expected hairy monster did not arrive. Goose Whitting felt something strange in his heart. He took one step forward and arrived at the foot of the mountain to the east of the village. Since the long-haired monster doesn't come, he will go find it himself. However, when he left the confines of the village, he felt empty under his feet, as if he had stepped into the void. The mountains, the bright moon, and the night sky all disappeared. The next moment, he appeared in another part of the village. Goose Whitting looked at the village in the night with an incomprehensible expression. Turning around and going out in the other direction, he was teleported to a certain part of the village again. Goose Whitting summoned Zioman again and let him keep rising. However, when he reached a certain height, he touched the limit and returned to the village again. This village is actually a small space. In this way, all the abnormalities he noticed earlier were explained. The small spaces he encountered in the past were very rich in spiritual energy, and most of them were deserted. Even if there were any, they were monks who had cultivated themselves. This is the first time I have encountered such a small space formed by a mortal village. It is no different from the villages outside. Otherwise, he would not have discovered the abnormality until now. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 457. Do the people in the village know that they are in a small space? It is obvious that they know it. After all, this small space was not formed on the first day, and the people here did not show any fuss. It is obvious that they have known about it for a long time and are used to it. Since it is a small space, it cannot be open all the time. He may have happened to have the opportunity to open it last night and broke in by mistake. No, he was brought in by the fire in the village. Combined with the fact that the long-haired monster didn't appear at all tonight, does it mean that the village chief's words were all lies to him, just to make him stay? Goose Whitting's consciousness completely spread. I didn't expect that an immortal master would come in this time, and he's so handsome. Those little cowards in the village are very lucky. Slutty bitches, isn't it enough for you to have me? The immortal master is so majestic. He rides a big bird and descends from the sky, just like an immortal descending to earth. I don't know what the outside world is like, I really want to go out and have a look. The immortal master is mine, you are not allowed to it from me. Humph, Master Immortal is so handsome, how could it be possible for you to monopolize him? Don't have such wishful thinking. After listening for a long time, Goose Whitting collected a lot of information, but it was all trivial. He came to the village chief's house and fed him a truth pill directly. When did Huaisha village become what it is now? How often does the village open? Did you deliberately lure the immortal master down last night? Under the influence of the truth pill, the old village chief knew everything and talked about everything. Goose Whitting learned the rough truth. On March 14, 50 years ago, a meteorite suddenly fell from the sky and hit Huaisha village. From then on, Huaisha village seemed to have disappeared from the eyes of the world and became isolated from the world. Villagers could not leave and outsiders could not enter. The most amazing thing is that the people in the village are immortal, and their appearance has remained unchanged since the day the meteorite fell. After experiencing various emotions such as fear, surprise, and anxiety, the villagers calmed down. Life goes on as usual. On March 14 of the following year, a passerby came to the village to stay overnight. The villagers were all shocked. Why could anyone come in? Since you can come in, can you go out? However, after trying it, they found that it didn't work. And the man who came in by chance, after finding out that he couldn't get out, gave up, became a member of the village, and married a girl from the village as his wife. After more than 10 years of exploration, the villagers discovered that on March 14 every year, the village seemed to be open. People from outside could come in and go out, but only on March 14. The reason why the person before could not get out was because he missed the opportunity to get out. By the second year, he had become a member of the village, and the fresh period had passed. Even on March 14, he could not leave. Although their wish of immortality came true, many people couldn't stand being trapped in the village for a long time. Why are we the only ones trapped? There are too few women in the village. It would be great if some women could come in. I don't know what's going on outside now. It's so boring, it would be nice if someone new came to relieve the boredom. Based on the above ideas, the villagers began to consciously lure outsiders into the village on March 14 every year. They tried various methods, and finally found that starting a fire was the most effective method. As long as people who are not too cold-blooded see the whole village on fire, they will come and take a look. Doesn't this look like they have fallen into their trap? This is how Goose Whitting fell into their trap. He did not expect that one day he would be plotted against by a group of villagers. Once you're in, you can't get out, right? Thinking that he might not be able to seize his and King Bao for a long time, he felt a surge of anger in his heart. In the past, most of the people they planned to come in were ordinary people, and there were also a few warriors. In front of the whole village, those people were alone and had no choice but to compromise. What a pity, they met him this time. Goose Whitting looked at the old village chief in front of him. He looked honest and honest. However, such an old man had previously made up a set of lies to deceive him into missing the opportunity to leave, trying to trap him here. He sneered, and a fireball popped out from the tip of his finger. The old village chief was engulfed in flames, and was finally burned into a handful of ashes. Lanner noticed the movement here and ran over to peek through the crack in the door. When she saw her grandfather's whole body on fire, she screamed in fright. Goose Whitting glanced at her indifferently, ignored her, and left. Lanner tremblingly opened the door and came to the bedside. When she saw a handful of ashes on the bed, she rolled her eyes and fainted. At this time, Goose Whitting had already appeared in front of the meteorite that caused the sudden change in Huaisha village. Asterisk. Tea house, in the private room. Shen Yazi sat inside with Qingbao and Nian Nian, enjoying tea and snacks. Of course, the tea she brewed was the tea she made herself, and the snacks she brought out from the space. As for the ones in the tea house, she put them aside and did not touch them. These foods are too turbid and will produce impurities when eaten. Now she basically doesn't let Qingbao and Nian Nian eat outside food. A burst of hasty footsteps came outside the box. Sisters Hizzy. Kui Yu's energetic voice sounded outside. Come in. Kui Yu's family of 4 entered the box. Kui Yu has already told her about the situation in Kui Mansion through the photo stone, and conveyed her father's wish to see Nian Nian. So the two decided on a time and place. As soon as Kui Shijhan came in, his eyes fell on Nian Nian. This child is almost exactly the same as you were when she was a child. Hu Ziyun was also shocked when she saw Nian Nian. If she had not known her identity earlier, she would have thought that this was her daughter who was living abroad. Kui Shijhan couldn't help but come to Nian Nian. He knelt down and looked at her carefully. He wanted to touch her but was afraid of disturbing her. Your name is Nian Nian, right? I'm your brother. Nian Nian looked at him and suddenly said, You are so old. Everyone in the room was amused by her. However, Kui Shijhan smiled and cried again. Nian Nian should have been the same age as him, but after she was born, she was locked in a coffin and suppressed in a dark cave, and her growth was suppressed. Not just physically, but also mentally as a child. Fortunately, Miss Shen rescued her. Kui Shijhan turned to Shen Yazi and bowed deeply to her. Ms. Shen's great kindness to my family will be deeply remembered by Kui. In the future, whenever I am useful, Miss Shen can just speak up. Shen Yazi lifted him up and said, Uncle Kui confirmed Nian Nian's identity without doing an appraisal. Kui Shijhan looked at Nian Nian, met her clear eyes, and once again felt the throbbing blood connection. No need, the moment I saw Nian Nian, I confirmed it. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 458. The atmosphere in the box was very cheerful. Suddenly, there was a uniform sound of kicking and the sound of soldiers' armor clashing outside, as if many soldiers were running towards this side. Shen Yazi didn't pay attention yet, but the sound of kicking got closer and closer, and finally stopped outside the tea house. As soon as her consciousness swept away, she saw a row of fully armed guards surrounding the entire tea house. The leader of the team came out of the crowd, raised his voice and said to the tea house, On the order of the Lord of the territory, we are here to arrest the wanted criminal Kui Shijhan. Wait for the rest to give way. Capture Kui Shijhan? The melon-eating crowd exploded with a buzz. Who is Kui Shijhan? That is the eldest son of the Lord Territory Lord. Although it is rumored that the Territory Lord doesn't like the eldest son very much, he won't send people to capture him, right? In the private room, Kui Yu suddenly sat up, rushed to the window and took a look outside, and recognized that the people surrounding the tea house below were indeed the guards of the Domain Lord's mansion. This is impossible. Isn't my grandfather in a coma? Why did he order the guards to arrest my father? This must be the conspiracy of that old poisonous woman. Since knowing the truth, Kui Yu has equated Zhao with the old poisonous woman. However, at this time, the leader of the team had already led the people and ran quickly towards the box. Kui Yu looked at Kui Shijhan in panic. Dad, what should I do? Kui Shijhan himself was very calm, and even felt as if the knife hanging above his head had finally fallen. Don't worry, I'll be fine. You take care of yourselves. Kui Shijhan's eyes slowly passed over the people present, and he paused when he thought about it. Shen Yazi put Nian Nian into his arms and nodded to him. Kui Shijhan's expression was relaxed. When the footsteps came outside the box, Kui Yu nervously held Shen Yazi's hand. Sisters Hizzy. The team leader kicked open the door of the box. There were only Kui Shijhan's family of 4 inside. Shen Yazi, Qingbao, and Nian Nian had disappeared. But in fact they are still there, they just have invisibility charms attached. Take it away, the leader swept around the box and raised his hand to the people behind him. 4 members of Kui Shijhen's family were taken away. Shen Yizi sent Qingbao and Nian Nian into the space and attached them himself. After entering the domain lord's mansion, Kui Yu and the other 2 were taken to their own small courtyard and placed in solitary confinement. Kui Shijhen strongly requested to see his father, so he was taken to Kui Huo's dormitory. Kui Huo woke up from a coma and was sitting on the head of the bed. Mrs. Zhao was sitting on the edge of the bed to help him drink medicine. Behind her stood a woman in her 40s, who was Kui Mingguang, the eldest daughter of Mrs. Zhao. As soon as Kui Shijhen stepped into the house, Kui Mingguang walked towards him and looked at him accusingly. "Brother, why are you so confused? You are the eldest son of our Kui family. Sooner or later, the position of domain lord will be yours. How could you do something like poisoning your father? Fortunately, your father was lucky enough to wake up, otherwise you would have been guilty. Are you eager to put the blame on him?" There was a hint of sarcasm in Kui Shijhen's eyes. He looked towards Ms. Zhao, but only saw her back. If it were in the past, he would still feel pain from this. He is also her son, why did she neglect him so much? But now he knows, because he is not her son at all, she took him away from his biological mother with vicious means. She sees him as a thorn in her side and wants to get rid of him as soon as possible. Kui Shijhen ignored Kui Mingguang, walked straight past her, came to the bed, and knelt down. "Father, I didn't poison you. I hope father will learn from it." These words completely ignited Kui Huo's anger. He snatched the decoction from Zhao's hand and threw it at Kui Shijhen. "Evil son! Why did I give birth to such an evil person like you?" He had just woken up, and when he got excited, he couldn't stop coughing, as if he wanted to cough out his lungs. Kui Mingguang hurriedly came over and patted his back. "Dad, don't be angry. Brother is just confused for a moment. He definitely doesn't really want to kill you." These words not only failed to calm down the anger, but instead infuriated Kui Huo even more. He pointed at Kui Shijhen, his eyes protruding, veins popping out of his forehead, and he looked as ferocious as if he wanted to eat people. "Get out, drag this evil obstacle down and put it in jail." Kui Shijhen was taken down. Shen Yizi flicked her fingers, and she flicked 3 mustard-sized sound bugs to the 3 people in the room, and then quickly followed Kui Shijhen, who was taken away. He was put into a cell in the deepest part of the prison. The cell was very cold, with only a small window open in the upper right corner of the north wall. A few rays of sunlight shone in, and Kui Shijhen walked over and sat down on the straw mat. Shen Yizi sent him a message. "Uncle Kui, don't worry, I will take good care of you and the others. Take this treasure bag. There are 2 bottles of pills in it. The one in the white jade bottle is Bigo pill. Take it. The next pill will keep you full for 5 days. The jade bottle contains rejuvenation pills. As long as the injury is not too serious, you will get better quickly. There is also a hand stove that you can keep close to your body and you will not feel cold." Although Kui Shijhen is a mortal, he has dealt with some monks and knows that monks have many magical methods, so he listened silently to Shen Yizi's message without showing any signs of anything strange. When Shen Yi knew what he was saying, he nodded towards the fence. "I'm leaving, please take care." Kui Shijhen picked up the brocade bag that appeared out of thin air, looked at the contents, and felt very grateful. It is a great blessing for their family to know Miss Shen. In fact, he had already anticipated what Zhao would do and had made some preparations in advance, but after all, he could not cover everything. Now that Miss Shen was assisting him, he was more confident, and he did not feel comfortable with the current situation. It's hard. After Shen Yizi left prison, he came to the small courtyard where Kui Yu's family lived. There were 2 guards guarding the outside, and she walked past them openly. One of the palace guards suddenly moved his nose. "Where does the fragrance come from? It smells really good." The other guard's nose was not so sharp and he sniffed hard. Is it there? Why didn't I smell it? Shen Yizi felt a chill in his heart when he heard it, and hurriedly put a breathing charm on his body to block out all the breath. In the room, Lu Xiaoyun and the other three were all frowning, and Kuiyu was lying on the table and sighing. Suddenly, Shen Yizi appeared in front of several people out of thin air. Kuiyu jumped up in surprise. Sisters Hizzy. After saying that, I realized something was wrong and quickly looked outside. Shen Yizi smiled and said, I set up a barrier in the house so that no one can hear it outside. Lu Xiaoyun poured her a cup of tea herself. If Miss Shen doesn't mind, I'll call you directly. Of course I don't mind. Hizzy, do you know what's going on with yours father? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 459. Auntie, I was about to tell you Shen Yizi told Kui Shijian's situation and finally said, I left the elixir with Uncle Kui. He won't be cold and hungry. Don't worry. Kui Yu was so moved that she hugged her. Sisters Hizzy, fortunately I have you, otherwise I wouldn't know what to do. He complained again, could my grandfather be confused? How could my father poison him? He actually put my father in a cell. Lu Xiaoyun slapped her and said, don't be disrespectful to your grandfather. She looked at Shen Yizi. Hizzy, where are Nian Nian and Qingbo? I put them in a safe place, Aunt doesn't have to worry. That's good. It was only after Nian Nian got it back that nothing could happen to her again. Whose stomach is growling? Kui Ling coughed slightly in embarrassment. Shen Yizi smiled and took out a bunch of fragrant food from the space and placed it on the table. You haven't eaten yet? Eat first. It's important to fill your stomach. Kui Yu gave Lu Xiaoyun a piece of food with chopsticks as if she was offering a treasure. Mom, try it quickly. Sisters Hizzy's food is delicious. Lu Xiaoyun picked up the piece of chicken and tasted it. It was tender, fragrant, and especially delicious. Compared with this chicken, all the chicken she had eaten in the past had become turbid. Clang. The courtyard door was violently knocked open, and the few people who had almost eaten couldn't help but stop. Lu Xiaoyun panicked, quickly, put these things away on the table. If anyone sees them, you will suffer. Kui Yu stopped her. Mother, Sisters Hizzy is here, why are you panicking? Shen Yizi stretched out her hand and brushed it from the table, and the dishes and chopsticks on the table disappeared immediately. She also made a Qingfeng Ju to disperse the aroma of food in the room. When the servant woman carrying the food box came in, she saw a miserable scene. Lu Xiaoyun paid attention to her expression and saw that she didn't notice anything strange at all, so she felt relieved. The maid placed the food box heavily on the table, opened the lid, and took out the food inside. A bowl of porridge with clear soup and little water, a plate of rotten vegetable leaves, and a plate of radish skins without oil or salt. This is their lunch. If they had not enjoyed a great meal just now, seeing such a terrible meal now, they would definitely be furious to death. But now they feel like they want to laugh. Zhao wanted to challenge them, but he didn't know that his efforts were in vain. Shen Yizi sent a message to Kui Yu, you should be furious at this time and throw the food on the servant girl's face. Kui Yu understood it instantly, slapped the table and stood up. What are these things? How dare you give us something that even pigs won't eat? Who gave you the courage? Without waiting for the servant to speak, she brought the pot of porridge that could see the shadow, and poured it fiercely on the servant's face. Looking at the servant girl who was soaked in the rain, Kui Yu felt extremely happy. I wish I could laugh 3 times with my arms akimbo. But now is not the time to laugh. Hu Xiaoyun and Kui Ling also reacted, immediately entered the performance state, and vented their anger. Driven the servant girl away. Originally, the servant girl was assigned the job of delivering food to the eldest son, specifically to humiliate the eldest son, so that she could tell the old lady about her predicament and go to receive the reward in front of the old lady. Unexpectedly, the purpose of humiliation was not achieved, and I ended up in a mess. Humph, if the eldest master poisons you, you will be kicked out. Even if you are not executed, then you won't even be able to eat the pig food. You still think you are a superior master. When the servant girl was kicked out, she still did not forget that she had the mission of humiliating the big house. She stretched her neck and shouted inside. What responded to her was a food box falling from the sky. The servant woman was hit by the food box, causing her nose to bleed violently, her head was concussed, and she almost went into shock on the spot. Boom! The courtyard door was closed again. Kuiyu returned to the house and happily described the miserable condition of the servant woman to several people, and burst into laughter at the end. Lu Xiaoyun hugged her and rubbed her belly. Don't let your laughter stop you. She herself couldn't help but laugh. Shen Yizi took out a thumb-sized insect and put it on the table. There are two slender whiskers on the insect's head. When these two whiskers collide together, they will make a human sound. The frequency of collision is different, and the human sounds produced are also different. This insect is the mother worm of the acoustic insect. Shen Yizi fed the female worm, tapped it on the head, and it began to learn the sounds. It was Zhao's voice first. You did a good job just now, but you have to be careful and don't expose your flaws in front of others and let others know that you are not the real Kui Huo. Do you understand? Followed by a strange man's voice, with respect and flattery, yes, the young one must behave well and never let anyone notice. Zhao Shi scolded, I praised you just now, and now you have revealed your true colors. How did I tell you before? Always treat yourself as the real Kui Huo. Don't use your own voice again. The four people at the scene were shocked. Kui Ying frowned. The meaning behind Zhao's words is that she found someone to pretend to be her grandfather. Kui Yu's eyes widened. What about the real grandfather? Where is he? Wasn't he harmed by that old poisonous woman? Shen Yizi did not expect to hear such exciting news. She patted Kui Yu's hand to calm her down and signaled the female insect to continue. Kui Mingguang, mother, why hasn't Amao come back yet? We are here to let him work hard to find the position of domain lord. It would be better for him to just care about himself outside. Zhao, this worry-free thing, he wrote a letter saying that he is already on the way. When he comes back, I must let him get married and have children. When he gives birth to my good grandchildren, he will wander around wherever he wants. Let him go, so as not to see him upset. I asked you to look at the candidate for your sister-in-law, are you sure? Kui Mingguang, the daughters of several families have been selected. I also asked the painter to draw portraits for them. I just brought the portraits. Mother, please take a look. Zhao, this girl named Kui Beiluo is quite good. She is the right age and has an outstanding appearance. She is also Mr. Kui's granddaughter. When did Mr. Kui have a granddaughter? Kui Mingguang, the daughter we found from outside a few months ago was the daughter Kui Jing gave birth to outside. Zhao, Kui Jing? Wasn't she already killed by someone you hired? Why did she give birth to another daughter? I just said she looked familiar. Kui Mingguang, oh, I didn't expect her to be so lucky. I was very surprised when I learned about it at first. But luckily, Kui Jing was already dead. She died when she gave birth to Kui Beiluo. I let Cici approach her and find out that Kui Jing somehow survived after falling off the cliff, but lost her memory and couldn't remember anything from the past. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 460. Zhao, in the past, Amao was obsessed with that vixen Kui Jing. Even if you didn't take action, I would get rid of her. Who would have thought that after her accident, Mao lost his soul and ran away from home without saying a word. He has not done anything for so many years. Come back several times. Now I don't ask for anything else. As long as he is willing to marry and have children, I will be satisfied. Kui Mingguang, otherwise, how could I fall in love with Kui Bailuo? She and her mother are really carved from the same mold. When Mao sees her, he will most likely nod. The mother and son said something else, but they did not provide any useful information. Kui Yu was extremely angry. These mother and daughter are so shameless and vicious. Lu Xiaoyun was stunned. Kui Jing and Kui Mingguang were handkerchiefs. They were as good as sisters. I was envious of them at that time. When the news of Kui Jing's accident came back, Kui Mingguang still didn't believe it, so he personally took the people with him. He went to look for people at the bottom of the cliff, saying that he wanted to see people alive and dead, but he only found a pair of bones that had been chewed into disfigurements by wild beasts. Kui Mingguang was so sad that he didn't go out for 2 months. Who didn't praise her and sister Kui Jing's deep love at that time? Unexpectedly, Kui Mingguang was the one who harmed Kui Jing. It's scary to think about it. This woman Kui Mingguang is really terrifying. Shen Yizi sneered again and again. Kui Mao is now 36, and he actually wants Bailu, who is only 16 years old, to be his wife. Zhao, Kui Mingguang, is really good. These two women succeeded in irritating her. Auntie, do you know why Kui Mingguang attacked Bailuo's mother? Lu Xiaoyun recalled, I'm afraid it's out of love. When Zhang Kui, the current head of the Zhang family, was still young, his beauty attracted the hearts of many women. But Zhang Kui was the only one who fell in love with him. Kui Jing, the news of Kui Jing's accident came back. Zhang Kui was drunk for 3 days, and now Zhang Kui's wife is Kui Mingguang. Things are clear. Kui Jing and Kui Mingguang were good friends back then, but Kui Mingguang had a plastic sisterly relationship with Kui Jing. She likes Zhang Kui, but Zhang Kui likes Kui Jing. So she wanted to get rid of Kui Jing, the obstacle between her and Zhang Kui. So she hired someone to ambush Kui Jing on the way to burn incense. She wanted those people to kill Kui Jing, but Kui Jing escaped to the edge of the cliff and fell down. Kui Mingguang was afraid that Kui Jing was still alive, so he personally took people to the bottom of the cliff to search. Find a set of bones, which may have objects that could represent Kui Jing's identity. She thought these were Kui Jing's bones and felt relieved. In the eyes of people who don't know the truth, Kui Mingguang's actions have another meaning, deep sisterly love. Among them, Kui Mingguang may have contributed to the situation and taken advantage of the situation. In short, after getting rid of the obstacle of Kui Jing, she successfully married the person she liked. Now, Kui Mingguang also wants Bailu to marry her brother so that they can continue the lineage of the Kui family. Shen Yizi sorted out the cause and effect, and felt so angry that his chest hurt. He wished he could rush in front of Kui Mingguang and kill her with one blow. Of course, she was just thinking about it. This is Bailu's enemy, so let her deal with it herself. The conversation between Zhao and Kui Mingguang came to an end. The mother worm imitated Kui Yunhuang's voice, Mom, have you caught that beast? I'm going to pluck its hair and chop it into meat paste. Zhao, Huang the doctor has told you not to get too excited, otherwise the injury on your face will heal very slowly. Have you applied any medicine? Kui Yunhuang, Mom. How can I not be excited? I was disfigured by that beast. Boom. Kui Yunhuang, what kind of medicine is this? It doesn't work at all. I've been applying it for 2 days and it still doesn't feel better at all. Mrs. Zhao, hey, Huang I've already sent someone to Minjiao Villa to buy the jade face cream you mentioned. If you don't bear with me, I'll just buy the jade face cream back and apply it on. My Wang's face will be fine. How could she be disfigured if she is so beautiful? Did some slutty maid say something in front of you? Mother, Let Aunt Zhao slap her mouth. Let's see who else dares to chew your ears. Hearing the words Minjia Villa, Shen Yizi raised his eyebrows. Want to buy jade cream from her? Ah. Shen Yizi planned to send a message to Xiao San when he got back, asking him to refuse to sell the medicine to the people sent by Zhao. Mrs. Zhao, good boy, don't cry. Don't cry. You want a parrot, right? That scoundrel in the first house raised one. Mom, I'll let someone bring that flat-haired beast to you to vent your anger on. Kui Yunhuang cried for a while. Although it was not the one that disfigured her appearance, because it was a parrot that disfigured her appearance, she now dislikes all parrots and even birds. Kui Yunhuang, no, I'm going to go there in person, pluck out the beast's hair one by one in front of the big house, and then chop it into a puddle of meat. Ha ha ha, Kui, you must be that little bitch. People's faces will be beautiful. Thinking of that scene, she was so excited that she trembled all over. Ms. Zhao, okay, in any case, the entire Kui mansion will belong to us, mother and son, and the scoundrels from the big house in a short time. It's up to you to do whatever you want. Kui Yu punched the table with her fist hatefully, and yelled at the mother insect, you are the evil one. Your whole family is an evil one. Damn it. I'm so angry. Lu Xiaoyun is also very angry, but she is more worried now that Kui Yunhuang will come over soon and will take action against Xiaoqi. Mom, I'm going to let Xiaoqi go now. Kui Ying walked out. Shen Yi knew, bring it to me. It's not safe to let him go now. What if Xiaoqi is caught again? Kui Ling then brought Xiaoqi in and handed it to her. Shen Yizi touched Xiaoqi and sent it into space. Lu Xiaoyun was still worried. Kui Yunhuang didn't see Xiaoqi when he came, so he might be angry at you. Especially you, who already had issues with Kui Yunhuang. Kui Yu was not worried at all. She hugged Shen Yizi's arm and said, where is Sisters Hizzy? Sisters Hizzy will definitely not let me suffer, right? She has always had a kind of confidence in Shen Yizi. Shen Yizi flicked her forehead with his finger. It is better to rely on yourself than to rely on others. What if one day I am not by your side? What will you do? This is exactly the truth. No one in this world can always rely on you except yourself. Lu Xiaoyun deeply agreed. Shen Yizi, Kui Yunhuang will be here later. It's fine if she doesn't attack you. If she dares to stretch her claws at you, you can go up boldly and I'll be there to support you. Good. As soon as he finished speaking, Kui Yunhuang barged in, followed by a large number of people. Maids, servants, and thugs are all fully equipped. Kui Yunhuang stepped into the room like a master. The maid next to her wiped the chair several times with a handkerchief, put her own brocade cushion on it, and then asked her to sit down. Kui Yu sneered, people with a heart see everything as dirty. If you dislike it so much, why are you here?